one of the great project manager we know in the industry, which have a very good legacy, which is said that do not underestimate the value of the project charter. So before I move on this topic, I will quickly introduce us about the stages of project management. So in managing a project, so let's say assume you have a project you want to manage, either you're a developer or you're a UI UX designer or you're a marketing guy. We all have a project, so we always do at a time. So in a project, we have about 5 stages. And the first one is the initiation stage. And what it entails is, you want to run a project, before you actually even go into planning, that these exactly things I need to do. These the team I need. These are things I need. You actually need to validate your ideas, ensure that what you want to talk about. You need to to come up with the scope of the project, objectives of the project, so that if you are coming up with a team or you want to introduce it to maybe a CEO of your company or the project sponsor, I mean, you have something to get their attention to the project, so that they can know that what you're actually doing is a serious project and it's something that will definitely add value to their company. So in this particular decision stage, before we go to the planning stage, that is where we have the project charter. So what am I going to talk about today? I'm going to talk about what is project charter, then why do we need one, the key element of project charter, how to create a simple and effective project charter, then who create the project charter, then the conclusion. So what is the project charter? The project charter is the statement of scope, objectives, and people participating in the project. I'm sure we all understand what scope means when you say the scope of a project. The scope of a project is actually a statement, that guide us. It put us it actually guide us guiding the project. Let's say, for example, now the project we want to do right now is we want to run a campaign for Bincom, and in this campaign, our target people is maybe the young people that are out of universities, or people we are targeting right now is students that are on strike. That is we have a boundary. That is what our project is all about. This is what we want to achieve. So this what scope actually help us, that it guides us on what we are trying to, the direction we are trying to take. So what the first thing project charter does is that, like the definition, there is a statement of the scope, objectives, and the people participating in the project. Then it initiates the process of defining the roles and responsibilities of those participants and outlines the objectives and goals of the project. Then it also identifies the main stakeholders and defines the authority of the project manager at the outset of the project's plan. So why do we need one? Why do we need a project charter? Yes, a project charter is a document, not in my sense. No, we are talking about the agile methodology. It's a document that has to be prepared, based on what we've gotten from the project sponsor or the project owner. So why do we need one? The reason why we need one is that it allows executives to see the business value of a project, which is critical in saving it from scrutiny and risking having delayed or even being scrapped. Imagine you find yourself in a situation where you're working in a company and maybe you have an idea that can actually add value to that company. In a normal setting, it's beyond you just go to the CEO and say, I have this particular idea, this is what I want to do. Yes, we all know about the business cases, although there's some similarity between the business case and the project charter. So the most of the time, the project charter is being used for a small project, while the business case is being used for a bigger project. And some school of thought say that a project charter, it's like a contract, but it does not involve any money. You understand? We are not making a transaction of money here. But when it comes to business, things like that can be involved. So one of the second reason why we need the project charter is authorize the project manager to start their project and allow him to use organizational resources to accomplish the objectives of the project. So in the real sense, with a project charter, is very important because it's give you the authority as a project manager that, okay, this is the project I want to work on. You understand? Based on what we presented to the team, I mean, maybe the project owner, the CEO of the company, after all the team agree on what's there, maybe based on the scope of the project, the objectives of the project, the plan regarding the project, then for then they can authorize that, okay, this is the project manager for this project. What are the key elements of the project charter? Like, what are the things we are most likely, what are we trying to, what does project charter do? What are the elements we are expecting in it? You should be able to answer some following questions. The first one is, what is the essence of the project? Why are we running this project? Like I mentioned earlier, let me say, for example, we are trying to run a project, you are trying to run a project about maybe running a campaign about Become Dev Center. You want more people to join the emigrate campaign. You want more people to join the Become Global Tech program. You understand? And you know that for someone to just become Global Tech program, it requires some sacrifice of 2 years. Yeah, you see, maybe for example, somebody that is out of university already, you need to have time. When you have your target market, we are trying to we are trying to focus on. You have the scope of the project. You know, we have something we call scope of the project. We have something we call out of scope. Out of scope are things you don't want to be part of the project. So all those things you have to ensure that it's being outlined. So what is the essence of the project? What are the objectives and goals of the project? How are you planning to achieve these goals and objectives? Why does the project exist in the first place? Like what is the outcome? What problem do you want to solve with the project? Then can we agree on this project? If you observe sometimes, or in this world, based on the statistic, there are a lot of millions of projects that people started and it's failed. This most of the time is that when you realize that even team in O, let me say, for example, now you're a project manager, we have the stakeholders, or let me say the project owner, we have maybe it's require the technical things like the back end or front end. You realize that sometimes people in the whole thing does not even understand, does not have the full understanding of what they are trying to achieve. So by the end of project charter, by the time you are able to prepare your project and have it completed, this is going to really help because you really want the whole thing to be in one direction. You want them to understand what we are trying to achieve in the real sense. So can we agree on this? The charter acts as a contract between the project sponsor, key stakeholders, and project team. By noting the responsibility of each party involved in the project, everyone is clear of what their duties are. So that's one of the advantage of the project charter. So if you say a project charter, all those questions I mentioned should be able to answer them. So I'm just trying to bring more like an example before I now tell us about how to make a simple and effective project charter. This is a project charter for a particular campaign, brand campaign. The project name is Key to Brand Campaign. This is the name of the project manager. This is the last time they revised the project charter. What are the states? The project purpose statement. The purpose of this is to increase brand awareness in NEMA and EMEA through a digital brand campaign in third quarters. Project objectives: launch display and video ads in third quarter to increase brand awareness in NEMEA and EMEA. What are the project scope? Under the scope, they have deliverables. We mentioned about to increase brand awareness in NEMA and EMEA through a digital brand campaign. So they have a landing page design, display ads. So these are the deliverables, things that has to be done. What are the requirements? You understand? For example, when it comes to display, the first deliverable, one of the deliverable, like it must show logo and call to action throughout animation. Like these are the requirements. They give us a tip on what the whole project is going to be all about. Then what are the resources that we need? Then the stakeholders and approvers. So now I'll be telling us about one by one. So you want to create a simple and effective project charter, like I mentioned earlier. So all the following things that the first is the project. What is the name of the project you are working on? Who is the project manager in charge? When was the last time you have maybe a refinement session? The last time you review the project charter. Then what is the project purpose statement? What is the scope of the project? What are the team and resources? And who are the stakeholders and approvers? So the first thing is project's name. You need to name the name of your project. Let's say, for example, now you want to run, like I mentioned earlier, you want to run the campaign, how to, to get more people.
It's me. Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah.
You have 3 minutes.
What do you say?
You have 3 more minutes for questioning, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. I'll be fast. So talking about the project name, the name of your project, it starts to reflect what you want to talk about, you understand? So project manager, are you the one in charge of the project? Then, like I mentioned, the last completion date, the project purpose. Why are you working on this project? What goals are you trying to achieve with this project? The objectives. What deliverable and asset do you plan to achieve by the end of the project? And you should remember that your objective must be what was smart, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. What are the project scope? Like I mentioned earlier, it's like a boundary, you understand? Everything that I want to achieve, either we have the direction we want to achieve that thing, it must always be in the same scope of the project, you understand? You should not move out of the scope of the project. You should try to avoid something called scope creep when it comes to project management. So what are the acceptable requirements? Those are things. Then who are the project team and resources? When you want to run a project, you should know, okay, who do I need for this role? Do I need a marketer? Do I need a graphic designer? So you have to, when you're making your project chapter, you should be able to know those the resources and the team member you're going to need for this project. But what are the stakeholders and approvers? When you realize sometimes that when people are running projects, we got something called authority approval. If you don't really know about your stakeholders, you don't know the project sponsor, you may find it difficult to move to the next stage because you want to get the authority approval here before you can do the next thing. So all this thing is going to be outlined in the project charter. So there won't be any problem for you thinking that who should I meet? Who should I meet when I need an approval in this sense? So then, who created the project charter? Ideally, because you expect somebody that actually come with the project. I mean, the project sponsor. You understand? Better understand what they actually bring, what they want to solve, for them to be in charge of doing the project charter. But sometimes we hear that in some companies, the CEO are always busy, the stakeholders are always busy. So there's nothing bad in a project manager, to be involved, to work as a team with the sponsor, maybe in getting some inputs from them, either maybe the business details of the whole thing, then you can work around that and make a project charter for the project. So in conclusion, the project charter is very essential in project management. And the initial stage of any project is not complete without it. Therefore, don't embark on any project without having a well-documented project charter. So in this, I believe that in a way we are able to know at least one or two things about project charter, and I hope that whenever we are having our next project, either is very small project, we should try our possible best to create a project charter before we embark on this. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Amazing, amazing. You worked with the right time. That is excellent. Thank you, sir. All right. Thank you so much for the excellent presentation from both the presenters, Mr. Nuruddin and Mr. Michael Alex. All right. So for the sake of time, we're going to just take 2 questions for now. All right. Just if you have a question, you can type it, or better still, you can unmute your mic and state your questions. Right. So we have basically less than 3 minutes. So who has a question? If you don't have, I have one. Okay, or both of the presenters can ask. Demystify project demystify. All right. So who has a question, please? Who's speaking? Okay. The presenters, do you have any question for any of the members, or I should ask?
Okay, I do have a question.
Oh, very good, very good. Please ask.
It's a simple question. I pray someone answers it actually.
The will.
Okay, so what is a server?
All right. The question has been passed to the house. What is a server? We have over 25 persons here. Who's going to answer? Who's going to answer? What is a server? What is a server? Mr. Semithin. Mr. Semithin, are you here, sir?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Yeah, so he asked a question about server demystified. Could you help us out, sir?
The servers are like dedicated computers.
That's nice. Educated computers. This is a good answer.
Like dedicated computers, or just programs that that receive requests from users and then give them specific responses.
Dedicated computers, specifically assigned tasks. That is good. That is good. All right. So Mr. Nuruddin, do you have any question, or should I ask a question as well?
Yeah, you can ask a question if you have a question.
All right. So, um, okay. In a case scenario where a certain project is to be done, but there is let's say scarcity in terms of resources to facilitate such project. All right. What due way do you think that the project team can actually address or tender their issues? We were talking about authorities. So if there's an insufficiency of resources or the set amount does not meet the project, all right, what can be done? Just in less than maybe 30 seconds.
All right, thank you for that. When it comes to projects, we have 3 points that are always very important. Sometimes when you write it like a triangle, in the sense that we have time, we have the budgets, and we have the scope of a project. So if anything happens, maybe for example, now if anything happens to the budget, it's most likely it's going to affect the time. Maybe we are going to require more time to get that project done, or the scope, maybe the quality we are trying to achieve, we may have to compromise in that sense. So, but when it's
Mm,
come to, during the planning of the project, when you're doing the budget planning, we have something called project buffer. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
yeah,
What
yeah.
we mean by that is that, for example, let's say you need about 10,000 to get something done. So you are
Mm,
advised in case of any future changes to have like 2,000 as a buffer. You understand? So that should
yeah,
be able to, to solve that problem. But if it doesn't solve that problem, so that is where we talk about you having meeting with your stakeholders. Then if there is no way out for them to to require another budget, I mean to make for the company to to give you another resources, then you have to play with other
excellent.
companies, which I mean by time and the scope. And you know that the scope is very important in terms of what
Yes,
the
sir.
company is trying to achieve. So you can work around the time, and I don't know, you can work around the time, then you can work with your team to ensure that even if the project is going to be a much more longer, at least you can still find a way to, to get it done as soon as possible. Then anything you are doing, try to let your stakeholders get involved so they will know that you are
Excellent.
not something.
Excellent. 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 Thank you so much, sir, for such straight to the point answer, well detailed, well concise. And thanks to the presenters, thanks to every single person who took out of their time to be here today. And happy new month to everyone as well. All right. So I think we'd actually be wrapping up the section right now. And do have the best of the day ahead. Thank you,
Thank you so
everyone.
much.
All right.
Thank you.
The live section can be stopped. All right. The live streaming section is done.